Welcome everybody to the June 2023 Hangout. So first, recent course releases, Rust, Java, and then 2 enterprise courses. The enterprise ones are a bit of a new direction for us when, a lot of our customers have been with us a long time and they've become, leaders of organizations, and they've asked for courses on, testing and code quality across projects, across their teams. So we release enterprise UI development with Steve Kinney, covering everything from unit testing, end-to-end testing, code quality, and then also the design system management one. That's a bit more niche. This was kind of a more high-level design management course. So we do have design to code learning path, which has like design focused content, but with expanding into language specific stuff like Rust and now Java, and then a few courses on the design front. But obviously our bread and butter is UI development, so it was great to have Steve's UI dev course. We recorded a bunch. I'll get into all the stuff that we recorded, but it has been a crazy year so far. It's been awesome. The next course that we have to release is the quiz, Advanced Web Development Quiz Workshop, and that's where during the live stream we were actually able to pop up questions live, and people really like that format. So in the course, you'll be able to click a lesson, answer a question first before you actually get the video explanation. So that's going to be really fun with Lydia. And we were able to schedule one specifically on JavaScript and the JavaScript language. So really looking forward to that. I think y'all will love that, the Advanced Web Development Quiz one. So we got a chat here saying, you need a course that dives into architecture and microservices. It'd be great to get a bit more context on like what you're looking for there, more clarity, and the better, because then we can, like the enterprise UI development course, y'all put into the topic requests. You wanted a course specifically on testing and enterprise UI development, and so we did it. So definitely keep dropping in your course suggestions, either in Discord or support@frontendmasters.com. We listen, and that course was directly a result of you all putting your thoughts in. Also, we haven't really been a source of news over the years, but people have been asking for a blog or keeping up to date on the industry. And so we put together a front-end to Fullstack newsletter. We launched the first issue 3 weeks ago, and there was a lot of positive responses there. So we're going to do another one, polishing that up to release like basically tomorrow. But it's great because we're partnering with Cooper Press, which runs JavaScript weekly and HTML5 weekly and Node weekly and all these things. And they're able to take the best articles, and instead of they do it weekly, we're going to take the best articles from the month and deliver that over email. That's been a fun project. And then, like I said, we recorded a ton of stuff. So we recorded a workshop on CSS layouts, like practical CSS layouts, because a big feedback item that you all have been giving us is you want, projects and project-based courses. And so having a couple of real world layouts and then seeing how Jen and just plain CSS would build it. She did a basic, intermediate, and advanced CSS layout. That was pretty awesome. And then we did a Getting a Developer Job course, which we're going to release that one for free. Yeah, that'll be great. And then we also recorded a Astro course, which the personal note, I migrated my markgravansky.com website to Astro, and I'd say it's definitely like cleaner than Gatsby, where I don't really feel like I needed that whole GraphQL layer. I think it's a cool concept. If you have a headless CMS that integrates content from multiple sources and you want like a GraphQL mesh of all that data, like maybe Gatsby makes sense. But for a personal website, I think Astro is definitely a lot better fit. Question here, how many employees do we have? You would have to, all in total, we have roughly, I think the last count we had like 17 people between contractors and full-time employees. I think actual full-time staff, like people in the US working on payroll, is something like 10. And then, we have full-time contractors. A few of them, they work abroad. So we have 2 of those. So do you include contractors in there or not? I don't know. But that's roughly the size of the team is under 20. And then we have like a pool of basically 30 active instructors. So between the 20 people working on frontendmasters.com, video capture, editing, the mobile apps, and then teaching, it's something like, 30 teachers and roughly 20 people working on across all those platforms. So let's see, what else? I went to a conference locally called Open Source North, and that was really interesting because there was over 1,000 people based in Minneapolis, and this conference was like right here locally. It was in St. Paul, and there was over 1,000 people. I think there was like 1,200 people there, and it was just cool to see. I haven't been to a conference physically in a very long time, and so to see that many people, that many developers out and about, I don't know, like in person, that was pretty cool. I know a few of our team went out to a Smashing conference in San Francisco, said good things, and it's cool to see like in-person conferences coming back. And with that, people are like, hey, Frontend Masters, you guys should make a conference. And it's like something that I've rolled in my head around for a long time. I've ran conferences in the past, so I know what it takes to actually run one. And yeah, it's a lot of logistics, but maybe someday. We played around with some different funny videos that we posted on social media. One was with Prime. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Programmers Are Also Human YouTube channel, but it's like conversations with a Vim enthusiast or interview with a C++ developer or whatever. There's a bunch of these, and they're like super, super funny. There's one on a senior JavaScript developer. But yeah, we made one for Rust with Prime.
Some of the things that I love about Rust is the fact that I can tell people that I use Rust. I also love Rust because when someone tells me about their project, I already know I can rewrite it in Rust better. Canonically, this is how you do it. Trait implementation. Is that VS Code? Get it out. Solid.js, more like Leptos, okay? React, more like you. Everyone knows Rust is the best. What is that, Mac? Get it out. Classes, you. Iterator. And that's zero cost abstractions. There we go. Iterator. Null's a $1 billion mistake. Blanket implementations. See this iterator? That helps us with zero cost abstractions. That's why I use Vim. Oh, I only use Linux. I don't know how to use Windows. I'm sorry, I can't help you. There's the $1 billion mistake again. Oh yeah, I work at Netflix. Zero cost abstractions. That's a $1 billion mistake. Okay, sure, there's a little boilerplate, but isn't that better? And that is the borrow checker.
Will we ever do C# workshops? We have not, but we absolutely will. I think if you follow this to its logical conclusion, I think we have Java and Rust and Python, some other backend languages. We just recorded Go. So the logical conclusion is we'll tackle things like C# and maybe Ruby or PHP, something like that. We'll see. But I think C# is probably the most widely used language that we don't currently have on the platform. So that's definitely a possibility. We absolutely will do that. Next.js changed a major routing API. So we are having Scott Moss come out in the next couple of weeks, actually. He's going to be here next week. We're going to do a revamp of the Intro to Node course of everything that's happened in the Node ecosystem. And then since Next.js changed a major API, we're doing updates of our Next.js courses, the Build a Fullstack app, and the Intro to Next. It reminds me of the old React days where every 6 months something massive would change in React, and we don't really see that too much right now. It seems like all of the churn and all the big API changes seem to be happening in Next. So our React course feels still like very up to date, aside from like that one. I think there's one video in the intermediate React section course where he covers SSR, and of course all of the SSR evolutions and everything is being moved into Next, with Vercel pretty much hiring a lot of the React developers and putting their effort into Next. So we will do an update on those courses based on that large API change that's coming. Let's see. Just a few more things left in this update. We released a Twitter video, well, Twitter and LinkedIn, a video about the frontendmasters.com being built in vanilla JavaScript.
You know what? You want to know what front end? By the way, did you see how fast that loads? Do you see how fast that loads? That was pretty creamy smooth, right? That experience was pretty creamy smooth. This is a pretty creamy smooth experience right here, right? They don't use a front end framework. There's no front end framework going on right now. Okay, they don't have one. There is just not one. Okay, now everybody, shield your eyes. We're about to go into bright screen mode. Okay, shield your eyes. Let's jump over here with a quick inspect. Let's go to the network. Let's disable cache and only consider JS. Let's give it a refresh. You'll notice that this is what they send down. You got some analytics, which takes up a huge portion of the page. The rest is like, it's less than, it's what, 108K. And it's really good. And so it just feels like, you know, like when I see this, I have to wonder, like, are we, like, even with, if you drop analytics, that means we're at what? We're at 74K. 74K for this. This is great. This is smooth. And then when you go here, boom, you still get that smooth. And look at that. This looks like a multi-page application. But look how fast it is. You don't even notice it. It doesn't even have to be a single page application. You don't actually have to have single page applications to be fast. I don't have great internet. This shit was not like nicely sent to me. Yet it feels so good. We have a shitty application, meaning multi-page application. Who does that anyways? They don't use any front-end frameworks. And yet, when I look at this and I browse it, it seems to be the best experience I've ever had. It feels great. Like, who's that sexy man right there on front-end Masters? And you know what they use for the back end? Go. Their mobile app is also blazingly fast. I'm just saying that maybe, just maybe, hear me out here, that we have the wrong paradigm being optimized for. Maybe. What is it written in? JavaScript. I love it. Marco went practical for pure speed, and it was a good choice, I think, for them. But that's the thing is, like, this was equally complicated as Netflix. I hate it. I don't know. I'm just saying, have we optimized the right thing? Do you feel like this is harder to build? Is this harder to build than modern day frameworks?
And there was a lot of debate and dialogue around that on LinkedIn in particular, but on Twitter too. And I like this response. I'll just read it quickly because it made me laugh. Kind of reconsidering my whole life experience after viewing the vanilla JavaScript hash switcher for blazingly fast performance with no framework. You're telling me I could have just been doing this all these years and just updated the syntax? And that's my perspective. I think, like, in a lot of cases, you could build a vanilla JavaScript or use TypeScript as you so desire. We use TypeScript in some of these components, but in a lot of ways, you can, as JavaScript evolves, you can continue to make that code cleaner with new syntax and new tools we have in JavaScript. But yeah, a vanilla JavaScript component, of course, is not going to go out of date. You know, we're not going to have to rewrite this, and we don't have to deal with a lot of the managing packages and stuff like that because we have a lot of these components written in just JavaScript. So there isn't a lot of that need to update things and keep up with the Joneses. But yeah, people brought up points around larger teams and working together and having conventions. And I think that's what we plan to document is some of our conventions. I put some of it in the vanilla JavaScript to do MVC repo if you want to take a look at that. And the vanilla JS hash switcher he was talking about is in the repo, like at the bottom of the README. It links to a couple of components like a date time, like countdown widget, and then the hash switcher widget. And these are built with the kind of architecture that we use. I think for a lot of things, you can get by with writing a small amount of code and not having to rewrite it to different frameworks, or if the framework updates or whatever, managing packages, that kind of thing. So that was fun. A lot of positive response from the community about that. And then people were asking, are you doing a course about building in vanilla JavaScript? And the answer to that is Maximiliano just recorded You Don't Need That JavaScript Library course where he kind of covers his patterns for building larger apps in vanilla JavaScript. His approach is pretty cool. And then I would love to create some blog posts and some learning materials around the steps to get there. So creating small components, creating larger components, and what patterns could you use. Like we built a little micro library. It's literally like 50 lines for managing when a setting will update on our video player. So, if you change the playback rate or whatever, the player itself can kind of subscribe to those different settings. And so, yeah, over the summer when we're not recording tons of workshops, I can actually start documenting some of the patterns that we use on frontendmasters.com for building the site with vanilla JavaScript. And then, of course, we have some modules that we're migrating to TypeScript and that kind of thing. So that's it for Frontend Masters. That's what's been happening over the last month. Lots and lots of recording in the workshop studio. And just about to wrap up launch of the Advanced Web Development Quiz course. So I think you guys are going to love that one. Industry news coming from our front end to Fullstack newsletter. I'll just cover a couple of things. The Popover API was released. That shipped in stable Chrome, and Una has a really cool blog post about it. I'll put it in the notes. And the ability to have a popover widget and then style like everything about it with pseudo elements and that kind of thing is a really cool pattern. I think first the dialogue API was the first to ship like this, where a lot of us have to create these dialogues on pages, modal windows, and you can actually style, like, for instance, the background, the layer behind the modal where you click on and it closes the dialogue or whatever. You can style every component of that just with CSS. So it's cool that they're adding the Popover API. I imagine they're going to add more UI components directly to the browser because we all have to deal with these giant UI kits and UI libraries where all of these components could just be built in the browser. I have to mention that I created the jQuery UI date picker, and I think the popularity of that component was specifically that I built it so it would be really easy to style and theme, as well as have all of the options, that all of the types of things that you would need to do with a date picker built right in. And I think they're starting to really think about, here are the common UI components that are used across all these websites, and like, why don't we just build it right into Chrome? I think that is definitely the way to go, because we need to reduce some of the third-party JavaScript to make some of these basic components for sure. Then a couple more industry things. Rich Harris converting Svelte, the Svelte core, to, moving it from TypeScript to JSDoc was an interesting thing. But essentially his point is that when you are debugging something, when something goes wrong, it's very difficult. If the library that you're using is written in TypeScript, it's difficult to debug that library specifically. So that's essentially his point, was libraries could be developed in just JavaScript and then use JSDoc to get most of the power that you would need with TypeScript. JSDoc gives you, and then the library itself basically behaves as if you're using TypeScript. You can still use TypeScript in your app, but the debugging story is much better. And then also, like, developing on it, you don't need a build step and all that kind of thing. So that was his point there. And I think he's released a couple of interviews and that kind of thing on YouTube. And then the last thing I want to mention is Google releasing Baseline. But Baseline is pretty cool because with a lot of these features that you want to use, you have to look up, can I use, and then see what the browser support is and if you feel comfortable or not using the API. So Google released Baseline to give us indicator that this is like thumbs up, it's supported in all browsers, or it's not. And so I like that concept. And all right, so chat came in. Hey Mark, nice to see you again. Thanks for hosting these hangouts. Y'all produce faster than I can consume. So I think that's a good thing, right? I've noticed a lot of people commenting or emailing us, joking, whatever, that we really picked up the pace. And yeah, this year we're setting out to record and release and produce a record amount of content. We did in 2022. We blew away our old records as far as like how many days in the studio and how much stuff we're producing. And this year is no different. I think this year it's incredible the amount of proposals that I had to sift through from the teachers this year. In January, I already had something like 30 or 40 workshops booked throughout the year. And now we're in the 50s workshops for the year. And I'm having to really be judicious about what workshops we add for the rest of the year. So if you go to frontendmasters.com/workshops, you can check out everything that we have lined up for the rest of the year. And yeah, that schedule is pretty solid. I will add a few more, but I have to be really judicious because the team will start getting really annoyed at me if I start booking too many more than I've already booked. So it's a good thing that we have a huge demand from the teachers. And I think a lot of that also really helps when you all put in your topic requests and give us ideas. Many of you might not know, actually in the video player itself on the top right, there is a feedback, a little bullhorn icon, and that feedback goes to our content team. Whether you have issues with the course or you just want to say thanks for the course, we'll get that feedback to the teacher. Or if you want to suggest something on top of what you learned, I think it's a good place, as well as in Discord, and then support@frontendmasters.com. So with that is it. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining for the June Hangout, and feel free to let us know if you have any feedback, how we can make these more valuable for you. So, all right, peace all.